A bride-to-be sent a heartbreaking final text to her fiancé before dying alone in a hotel room after a row over adopting a baby together. Collette Lee, 33, who suffered from diabetes, died from low blood sugar in a Travelodge after sending Sasha Ruan a message that read, "Thanks for breaking me." The court heard how she had argued with her partner Janine Sasha Ruan over not being able to adopt because her ex-partner had failed to provide a reference. She walked out of the house sending Ms Ruan a message saying, "Thanks for breaking me." She checked into a Travelodge and was then discovered the following morning. A pathologist found that she died from heart failure. Ms Ruan said in a statement read at the coroner's court, "Collette and I had been together for just under 3 years, and we first met at the Vanilla Bar where she was the duty manager and we traveled home on the same bus. We lived together for the first couple of years in her home and then moved into a new address together. We were engaged last year, but we hadn't fixed a date for the wedding. Genuinely loved and cared for her and we had plans for the future together." Collette had a fiery temper and she could become stressed. When she was diagnosed 2 years ago with type 1 diabetes, the doctor said that she was one of the unlucky ones whose diabetes was sensitive to illness, emotion, and stress. She hated having diabetes and resented having to take her medication. On a few occasions, she had threatened to self-harm and not to take her medicine properly. She had a number of diabetic episodes. One episode she had was when we went to the cinema and she asked for a Diet Pepsi and was inexplicably given a normal Pepsi, and she was hospitalized because her blood sugar levels went through the roof. On a few occasions, she had threatened to self-harm and not to take her medicine properly. In her last month, she had an increase in her medical episodes. It got to the stage that she would have 2 to 3 episodes in a 12-hour period. On May 23, "I woke up in the morning and she was already awake and downstairs. She was in a bad mood from an argument we had the night before. We had wanted to adopt, but her ex-partner stopped our adoption by not being a reference. I spent most of the day upstairs while she was downstairs. When she was in a bad mood, it was best to let her get on with it. We still communicated by text message. The text started off normal, we were talking about things like the cat pooping in the garden. But then the texts got worse. One text said, "Have a nice life, thanks for breaking me. I genuinely loved and cared for her and we had plans for the future together." Because she had said things like this a few times previously, I didn't think anything of it, I just replied telling her not to manipulate me. She has disappeared in the past but she would always end up ringing me. She did this probably 5 or 6 times throughout our relationship. After the text she came back at about 5:45 p.m. and left again. It was later that I noticed that she had taken her medication. Just after that I went out to look for her. I went to our Slimming World group, her previous address in Bolton Hospital. Boy stripped and beaten by gang during attack posted on Snapchat. At about 11:30 p.m., I attended the police station to formally report her as missing. My concern was heightened by her medical condition. I was sadly informed that she was discovered at the Travelodge and her death had been confirmed. I was devastated. I didn't believe that Collette had intended to take her own life. I loved her and we were planning a future together. A pathologist who examined Collette after she died in the hotel room, Dr. Patrick Ward, told the court that she had died from heart failure as a result of low blood sugar. Collette Lee, 33, who died after slipping into a diabetic coma, he said, "I found from examination of this lady that she had high levels of fluid on her lungs and her brain was swollen. We took blood to see if there was any drugs or alcohol in her system and there wasn't. She had fluid on her lungs and because her heart had failed. That is how she died, her heart had stopped working. Her cause of death is heart failure brought on by hypoglycemia brought on by type 1 diabetes." Reading a statement from her father, Stephen Lee, coroner Simon Nelson said, "We initially resided in Bolton with Collette and she attended Dean High School. When she left school, she worked in various cafes, including her mother's. In fact, she had always worked in hospitality. At the time of her death, she was the duty manager at the Vanilla Bar, in Manchester. Collette Lee, pictured with partner Sasha, who she was due to marry. In terms of her interests, she had a lifelong love of music and she was a big fan of Pink. She was industrious, and she enjoyed her work at the Vanilla Bar and regularly went in early. She would occasionally drink alcohol but only generally in moderation, and she didn't smoke. She was very sociable and had many friends. There were more than 350 people at her funeral, which was a testament to how much she was loved. She was full of life. She had expressed ambition of becoming a 101 operator for the ambulance service and had enrolled into Bolton College to do her GCSE Maths and English. She was the mother of 2 children from a previous relationship and lived in Farnworth for most of her life. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but before then she was very healthy. We moved to Hull about 12 months before her death and didn't see her as often anymore. We still managed to find the time to see her around her work and often kept in touch through text messages. From my perspective, she seemed to manage her diabetes well. She had a number of admissions to hospital following her diagnosis, but she seemed to get on with life. Collette and Sasha were due to get married. I last saw her on May 5th at my other daughter's wedding and I had no concerns for her well-being when I saw her. I am so upset by what has happened. Police coroner's officer, Neil McCaffrey, said, GMP were made aware of an incident where a woman had been found in a Travelodge in Bolton. We found that she had checked into the hotel at around 7 p.m. and had gone up to her room at 7:11 p.m. Checking the keycard log, we could see that she never left the room after this point. She was then discovered by an employee at the hotel just after midday when she came in to check why she had not checked out of the hotel. I was satisfied that there was no third-party involvement or suspicious circumstances. Recording a conclusion, Mr. Nelson said there was not enough evidence to say that she committed suicide. He said, I cannot say that Collette Lee had intended the consequences of her actions. There is no way that I can be satisfied that she intended to end her own life even to the new lower standard of proof of balance of probabilities. My conclusion will read that she died from hypoglycemia in circumstances where her intention remains unknown. She had trouble controlling her diabetes, as I have heard from her partner. She checked into the Travelodge, Bolton, at approximately 7 p.m. and was discovered just after midday the next day. From what I have heard, it sounds like she had a great deal to live for. She was a very capable and conscientious young lady who was kind and caring. I do hope sincerely that you will recall the good times, and I extend my condolences to you and everybody who was affected by her death. Helplines and website Samaritans, 116,123, operates a 24-hour service available every day of the year. If you prefer to write down how you're feeling, or if you're worried about being overheard on the phone, you can email Samaritans at joe@samaritans.org. Childline, 0800-1111, runs a helpline for children and young people in the UK. Calls are free and the number won't show up on your phone bill. Papyrus, 0800-068-4141, is a voluntary organization supporting teenagers and young adults who are feeling suicidal. Depression Alliance is a charity for people with depression. It doesn't have a helpline, but offers a wide range of useful resources and links to other relevant information. http://www.depressionalliance.org/students against depression is a website for students who are depressed, have a low mood or are having suicidal thoughts. Bullying UK is a website for both children and adults affected by bullying. http://studentsagainstdepression.org/the sanctuary 0300-003-7029 helps people who are struggling to cope, experiencing depression, anxiety, panic attacks or in crisis. You can call them between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. every night. Operates a 24-hour service available every day of the year. If you prefer to write down how you're feeling, or if you're worried about being overheard on the phone, you can email Samaritans at joe@samaritans.org.